Welcome back to On the Rise as Canada is eliminated in the Concacaf Gold Cup on penalties against Guatemala, falling 6-5 in penalties after Luc de Fougerolles strikes the crossbar. But this performance was disappointing, poor, and absolutely embarrassing from the Canadian men's national team, but some huge decisions fell to Jesse Marsch, where he made some shocking calls throughout this match and costed this Canadian men's national team a chance to win the Concacaf Gold Cup. But we're going to break it down, guys, giving you guys my thoughts and reactions to this match on some of the decisions that Jesse Marsch made throughout that game. Before we dive into it, guys, make sure to drop down below into the comments. Let me know your thoughts on the match and how disappointed you are seeing Canada lose to Guatemala in the quarterfinals. Smash that like button if you're enjoying the content and hit that sub button as we continue to move closer to 1,000 subscribers. But this game was disappointing and utterly embarrassing from so many standpoints. And this was a Canadian team that brought their A-team. They brought their best team available to them for the CONCACAF Gold Cup. Yes, there's no Alphonso Davies, Moise Bombito, Stefan Eustáquio, and Ali Ahmed went out injured. But this was Canada's best team available to them. And the fact they're putting up a loss in the quarterfinals to a side that is 106th in FIFA World Rankings in Guatemala is poor, is disappointing, and embarrassing. Whatever adjective you want to use, it is correct. Because this Canadian men's national team should not be falling in the quarterfinals to a Guatemalan side. All respect to them, they deserve to win at how they came out in that second half when Canada was down a man. Guatemala deserved to go through how well they played in that second half while Canada was down a man. Simple as that. But this Canadian side, how good they are, how much we praise them, and how far they've come in this new era, should not be losing to a Guatemalan side that are 106 in the world. That just shouldn't be happening. And there was so many decisions in that match that I think Jesse Marsch got wrong. And there was two key factors throughout this game that swung it, that made this game finish with Canada being eliminated in the CONCACAF Gold Cup quarterfinals. And one was Jacob Schaffelberg's terrible decision making. I don't know in what sense he thinks he needs to go flying and make a body check with seconds to go in the half before Canada goes up 1-0 into the half in a quarterfinal when you have a yellow card. Absolute stupidity from Jacob Schaffelberg. It made no sense to make that challenge where at the time that was left on the clock, there's no need to make that challenge at the top of the half, right where the ball is. They're not threatening. It was a stupid and idiotic decision he made, which utterly costed this Canadian men's national team a chance to win the CONCACAF Gold Cup and to advance into the semifinals. Canada was flying in that first half. They were playing some good football, creating some chances, some good opportunities, and also much on the front foot. Guatemala looked like they weren't really going to threaten Canada a whole lot with Canada on 11 men. Canada was solid defensively. Their midfield was playing very well. Going forward, Canada looked very dangerously. And then they go down to 10 men. And the tables swung, which did not surprise me. But one thing that was a huge factor was the fact Jesse Marsch did not make any changes at halftime when going down a man, and then his first change made absolutely no sense when you're down a man. When you're down a man and you decide to bring on Tajon Buchanan, who looks like he's down with cramps, fair play, take off the injured player, you don't bring on a striker in Daniel Jebison. Yes, he can play on the wing, but it's a decision that made no sense in this game. Why do you play three strikers when you are trying to protect a lead, when you were trying to set up defensively while down a man to help send yourself to the semifinals and play solid defensively? It was a decision that made no sense at the time, and after the fact of this game, still makes no sense. Why don't you bring on Jaden Nelson? Let him play out wide. Why don't you bring on another midfielder and play a 4-3-2? It made no sense, and I still don't understand why he made the decision. Bring on Jaden Nelson, let him chase on some of those long balls, let him press Guatemala from the front, let him go out wide and be an outlet when Canada is on the back foot, and when he's getting pressured, bring on that raw pace of Jaden Nelson. Let him go and attack the back line. Let him go and press. It makes a lot less work for Jonathan David and Tony Oluwase at that current point in time in the match if you have Jaden Nelson with his rapido pace pressing on the back line, pressing on Guatemala to try and see them make mistakes. Or when Canada has to hoof it long and try to get a pressure, you have Jaden Nelson there trying to cause chaos in the front or working his way up from the midfield to just be that outlet to give Canada something different. But bringing on a striker in Daniel Jebison, who came on, was poor once again, was a very wild decision. Bring on 3 strikers in the 58th minute when you're trying to contain a lead made no sense to me. You bring on Jaden Nelson for Tajon Buchanan, and then you bring on a Joel Waterman to shut up shop, to bring on a third center back, to play a 5 in the back, to go play and set up defensively, because Canada ended up giving up a header and giving up a goal about 11 minutes later due to not being solid defensively, to cracking down eventually, because you could see it coming. There was chance after chance. There was a pressure building from Guatemala that always looked like they were going to eventually break Canada down because they were exhausted, they were tired, and you could see that the subs didn't work. I don't know why there weren't changes at halftime. I don't know why the formation wasn't changed to settle for that red card, to change things up. Why wasn't a third midfielder brought on? It is something that will be questioned from Canadian supporters. And then you look on further into the match. If you're going to bring a striker on, take Tawny off. It doesn't work. Put Promise David on. Something has to change there. But what didn't make sense was, in the 71st minute when you're chasing the game, why are you bringing on Kyle Larin then? Why aren't you bringing on Jaden Nelson? Why aren't you bringing on Promise David? It's a huge talking point. Jesse Marsch has done great with his substitutions until recently. It doesn't make sense what he did with the substitutes in this game. The game management was very poor, and this game was unfortunately a game which Jesse Marsch's stock went down, in my opinion. He lost a lot of points here in the hearts and in the eyes of Canadian supporters. I love Jesse Marsch. I love what he's done with this era of the Canadian men's national team. But when you manage a game this poorly, I'm not trying to overreact. It's just a poor decision after poor decision after poor decision in this game, which, when you're down a man, you just set up shop, you play defensively, you bring on a Joel Waterman, you bring on a Kamal Miller, you bring on an extra center back to be solid at the back, to not let a back post header or a man be missing at the back post. And that's how it should have been. You don't bring on a Kyle Larin, you don't bring on Promise David in the 91st minute, your most informed striker outside of Jonathan David. It was just mind-boggling decision after mind-boggling decision in my mind. And it really was surprising. But another thing is, I think we learned a lot of lessons from this defeat. Jacob Schaffelberg has not performed for Canada recently. Yes, he performed good in the past. He had a great stint for Nashville. But he's been a real problem on the left-hand side. He hasn't created a lot of chances. He's been very hot and cold throughout matches, and costing Canada by going down a man when we're in complete control, in cruise control, and playing well in that first half is a serious talking point. And yes, I think a lot goes to the blame of Jesse Marsch throughout this game, which I really hope Canadian supporters do agree with me on this, because I think he made a lot of poor decisions. But Jacob Schaffelberg has to fall on a lot of the blame here as well, and I think his stock definitely went down throughout this tournament. Another player that I think the stock went down on, I will make a separate video, guys, on this, on stock up and stock down throughout the Gold Cup, is Dayne St. Clair. Dayne St. Clair had a poor penalty shootout, wasn't great throughout the match either. Yes, he made that big save early on, but penalty shootout wise, Dayne St. Clair hasn't come up stopped for Canada in his opportunities. When you look back, Maxime Crepeau has been fantastic in penalties. It's a huge decision for Jesse Marsch now, because I don't think Dayne St. Clair put himself in the brightest of lights throughout this Concacaf Gold Cup. Come under a lot of criticism from supporters. Everyone wants to see Max Crepeau from a certain perspective, and I'm starting to lean that way as well. Dayne St. Clair wasn't fantastic. Maxime Crepeau has proved himself when given the opportunity. He has that spreadsheet. He has that long-term ability from what he's done with the Canadian men's national team, and we know what he can do. I think we're going to have to see Maxime Crepeau in the next set of friendlies just by how well he has played for Canada in the past, and Dane St. Clair not putting himself in the brightest of lights of recent for Canada. Another big talking point throughout this match has to be Tani Oluwase. Another huge point that I think Jesse Marsch massively got wrong is who he paired Jonathan David up with. I expected it to be Tani, and that doesn't surprise me. But he was poor. He was extremely poor. And I don't like to harsh on our players. I don't like to go in on the team. But it's just how the game went. It's just how they played. And it's just emotions, guys. It is football at the end of the day. But Tani Oluwase wasn't up to the task, and he had a poor performance. Yes, it's just one game. Yes, he hasn't been great in the past either. But he was really off it. The chance where he earned the penalty, I'm going to say it and be completely honest, that was not a penalty. It was very soft. He made a major mistake. It was a great ball by Richie Larea to find Tani. Great run as well. But his touch was like a trampoline. It hit him and bounced way off him. But if that's Jonathan David, if that's Promise David, it's a touch, close control, bang, finish. Which is what it should be for any striker. You take it, brilliant run, you cushion it, and you finish it. Tani took a touch, and it bounced off him about 50 yards. It went so far from him, he wasn't able to recover and have a chance at goal, and had to resort to trying to win a penalty. And it made no sense for Aaron Herrera to dive in like that and give the referee that chance to call the penalty, that decision that had to be made. And it was very soft, and I didn't expect it to stand, and it somehow did. And I think there's a huge talking point, 3 points on the field there. And Dane St. Clair, Jacob Schaffelberg, Tani Oluwase, a must-win game, did not put themselves in a bright light. So did Jesse Marsch. And I think there's major questions. I hate harping on these players. I hate harping on the manager. It's just what I feel, guys. There's no hate to these players. I love every single player on this Canadian men's national team, and I think they're great players. But some of them just aren't good enough and aren't up to the task for major matches like this. And 100%, I would have started Promise David. I would have started Jaden Nelson. Up in the air if I would have started Maxime Crepeau, but I think he deserves a start now. Major questions need to be asked, and I'm really intrigued to see what you guys have to say down below in the comments. If you agree that it was down to Jesse Marsch that Canada fell and didn't survive past Guatemala. I was afraid that this would be a major game, that it would be a close game. In the first half, I thought we were going to blow them away. I thought we were playing extremely well, and it was a huge positive. I was so happy watching us in that first half. Guatemala didn't look like they were going to score, in my opinion. And then it came down to that red card. But guys, I'd love to hear what you guys have to say about this match, about that disappointment into the quarterfinals. I could talk for so long and rant about this performance and how I feel about the Canadian men's national team in that quarterfinals against Guatemala. It's a mishmash of thoughts right now. My head is swirling after watching that game and thinking about this game. There's going to be so much to reflect on, so much to look back on. Jesse Marsch's decisions, Jacob Schaffelberg had lost, Tani Oluwase starting, Dane St. Clair in the penalty shootout. So many players rising their stock even throughout a loss in the quarterfinals. It was a wild tournament. And don't think the content's going to slow down with no Gold Cup, no match previews, reactions. The content's only going to pick up, guys. We have transfer news. We have so much surrounding this team. There's so much to talk about post-Gold Cup, guys. There's so much content coming to the channel. I hope you guys stick around and enjoy the best Canadian men's national team channel on YouTube, and let me know your thoughts down below in the comments, guys, because if you guys want a place to enjoy Canada T content, especially after that difficult time in the quarterfinals, this is the place to be. Smash that like button as we continue to grow this amazing community, as you guys have great support in the comments, and I truly appreciate it. Make sure to smash that like button, hit that sub button, and let me know your thoughts in the comments down below, and I'll see you guys for the next one. Peace.